wanted to say something about the trade unions. I'm I'm a primary school teacher in the Irish National Teachers Organisation, and I think they're the worst union. Like our leader, our General Secretary of the union, is the highest paid union official in the country, and she defends her wages. I mean, it's come up quite often in big meetings. She defends her wages. I mean, it's disgusting, absolutely, what she earns. But I do think Kieran's right in terms of that. First of all, sometimes it's a good gut reaction to say, I'm not paying my subs, you know, and it actually comes from quite a good sense of that the union are doing nothing for us. Do you know what I mean? And so that's a good thing. But I do think you have to shift that argument when you're in the workplace, sort of saying, actually we need a rank and file union that's run by the members. But actually what is really great, I think, over the last year is that the amount of occupations. And that didn't come, not one union official or one union leader called for an occupation. Not one of them. And they didn't even come and say, well done, you're fantastic what you've done, and give them assistance and pull out some other people somewhere else. They did nothing, absolutely. And the same in my union. Now, there was no occupation, but they were cutting, I don't know whether people remember, they're called DESH schools, which are, you know, probably a lot around this area. And that campaign came from basically rank and file members on a big fight back. And Rory Quinn, he didn't come back completely, but he actually rolled back on the cuts that he was going to make. And that only came because ordinary trade unionists within one of our members, in fact, in Socialist Worker, was very pertinent to that campaign. But that's where I feel the trade union movement should be, and that should be our vision. Being part of the union is that we are the sort of actors within that union, and we are the ones that should move it forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say around the union, what someone said 2 minutes ago, was that need the unions acknowledge that the public people are not happy by the way they're working, and for younger people to know more around unions. Because I'm sitting here now and I haven't, I'm only taking on board what you were saying. I have to kind of research around, and I wouldn't mind. I was on the front page of the
Liberty, yes, I have that at home.
a few weeks ago. I don't even know much around it or about it or anything like that. So I think it's the lack of people knowing about unions as well, especially young people, because young people is the future of Ireland, you know. But on another note as well, Brid, I like what you said around getting everyone together on the 19th of July. But what happens after the 19th of July?
The 18th.
You know, I think it's important that a lady said there a few years ago that we're fighting by ourselves. I think it's the power of the people of Ireland themselves to get out in the streets, and if we have, say, 2, 3, the social party, people before parties, whatever, we all work together and get out and show that we need business around, especially around education and health services and everything else that goes with it. It's all kind of getting people out there, and even say getting a few volunteers to go to local youth services, getting young people over the age of 18 to go on the streets and to educate them around what's going to happen to them in the future. I think that's very important to do as well.
Very relevant. In relation to the youth stuff, I'm aware that you're based in the community sector, and it's only a new sector, newly unionised sector, and it's a great opportunity now because the community sector is going to be lashed coming up to Christmas.
I want to join the community.
Listen, you can have my place down there. Great point. I'll be back to now. There's one at the back of the room. Is there anyone else there, Signal? John?
Yeah, I just want to reinforce what Kieran and Brid were saying about the importance of socialist organisation, and also about who the main enemy is. You know, if you go back, I just want to take people back 4 years to when all this crisis and all this debt and all this exploded. You know, it's not an Irish crisis, it's not a Spanish crisis, it's not a Greek crisis, it didn't start in any of those places. It actually started on Wall Street. And it didn't start on Wall Street because it's something about the American people. It started on Wall Street because Wall Street is the centre of the money system, the capitalist system of the whole world. This is a world crisis of the system, just like we had in the 30s. And I think that's very important when we remember, because the media always tries to say there's something wrong with the Greeks, there's something wrong with the Spanish, there's something wrong with the Irish. They'd be partying too much. This is complete rubbish. What it is a problem of the system, and in all those countries, the bosses and the IBEX and their parties in all of those countries are doing the same thing to their people. So that, I think, is the first thing to say. That's why we need socialist organisation to fight back on it. And I think that, like you speak of, what happens after the 18th? We mobilise for the 18th and we bring everybody together, but you have to keep organisation going on after the demos as well, to prepare for the autumn. And after the autumn to prepare for the next spring and so on. And that's why you need to join a socialist organisation and come together. So that in between the demos and building up to the demos and carrying on from the demos, that you can build the struggle and continue the struggle. So I again, like the speakers, I would urge people to get involved.
Thanks very much, Sean.
You know, we probably find it a little bit unusual the United Nations around the trade union movement, and I'm not sure the trade union against it, just I find it unusual, where they're only a section of civil society, right? And civil society is what's going to change things, as opposed to trade unions going to change things. And if we look at who the enemy may be, surely we should be looking at who's going to inform civil society as the potential enemy. And if we look at the independent newspapers, or we look at Sky B, or whatever they're the real people that are going to inform, and who's going to tell them as to how they should inform us is going to be the capitalists. So if we put so much effort into the trade union movement and see them as the way forward, I think it could be a mistake. I think it's who informs civil society is the real people that we need to be in touch on, and it is the socialist movement going to inform civil society. I think that's really where it should be looking, as opposed to so much effort going into the trade union movement, which is, compared to what it was, it's minuscule now, and the influence it has is with social partnership gone, it's nothing.
This meeting took a track and it went, and we kind of bit onto the trade union where normally it wouldn't, but I think it's a very good discussion underneath one. But just one point I would make, the trade union in recent time have got 100,000 people out in the street twice. You know, a very big bulk of people. If that movement was serious about engaging on behalf of civil society, if you're getting that numbers out, you could do a lot with 100,000 people on the streets if you were to say, let's stay out in the streets and let's make a real change, rather than putting on a show and have people walk up and down the hill, as was said earlier. So it's not, the numbers you can get out aren't minuscule, whereas the union influence in workplaces is definitely deteriorating because of the power of the union and the Campaign Union. But it's an organisation we really need on board if we are to, you know, make a meaningful campaign against this government, and we need to swing those. Sorry, no shit.
Yeah, it's sort of aligned to that, because I think that a lot of the struggles that have been won over the last while have challenged the unions. You know, somebody was talking about the occupations and stuff like that. And I suppose what I think needs to happen is the alliance between civil society and the unions to make it more powerful. But if we look back over the last year, I was just trying to think as people were speaking, every tiny little struggle, like whether it's respite care, the home helps, and the SNAs, I remember last year, every time, we won tiny bits, and it's very, very small, but every time we've won, you're gathering more people around, you're gathering more people who start to understand the madness that's going on. And I think, like one of the things we're saying about the vote, the no vote and the yes vote, is that while it was fear versus anger and all of that, it was also a class vote. And I think that people who were organised, like we said, the majority of people who were in the household charities campaign probably voted no. And I think people in the household charities campaign began to understand the madness of the world we're in. So I think all those things are connected. And there's something else I was going to say about I suppose the importance of understanding. I do think there is a lack, and this probably is what Kieran said, it's very hard to get the debate out about what we want. You know, where's the money, all those things. And I'd love to see us with 3 or 4 slogans. And I do think if all our campaigns could get that tax surge and get needed to take it seriously. I think the other thing is around jobs. I think jobs are key to our society, just for the well-being of and the function of how we work, how we are, and not the 2 schemes. I think, it's about putting pluses and having some kind of, not a set program, but an ideas program, because it's very hard to get it out. But I think as the left or as a class, we need to maybe speak in all the time that when there's an opportunity for saying tax the rich, jobs that make meaning, the teachers, the SNAs, all that kind of stuff. Now we do say it, but sometimes I just think the media just don't report because of one side, you know. Yeah, exactly. So I think we've a battle of wills, and we have to learn.
Yeah, well, just to agree with the woman at the front here, because what we need to do is bring all the movements together, and that's what the United Left Alliance in this area, it's basically a group called People Before Profit that most of the activists are involved in. Because exactly what you're saying, we need to bring people who are fighting against school closures together, people who are fighting against hospital closures, with people in the unions. And I think just to say that obviously the degree of control that people like Tony O'Reilly and Dennis O'Brien have in terms of media in this country is scandalous. But we've just been through a campaign where they threw everything at us in terms of the media, and 40% of the people who voted saw through their lies. So that's the hope that people have really. Threatened with Ireland being towed into the Atlantic and sunk, people said, we don't believe you, and we see what interests you're standing against. The main point I wanted to make though was that about why people should get organised, because I think this was one of the few constituencies in the country that voted no, and I think a large part of that is because a lot of people, exactly, people should get themselves clap. A big part of that is because people in this room, or a big part of it's got out and knocked on loads of doors and talked to people and convinced them sort of face to face, because we don't have the money to buy loads of TV ads or newspaper ads, but what we have is people living next door to others in the estates around the place. So I think that's the power of socialist organisation. And if you know your neighbours, if you're seen in the area someone who's been leading the fight to save the local school or the local hospital, people are going to trust you more than someone on the TV who's saying, listen, you've got to listen to me because I'm wearing a suit. And I think that's what we need in this area. We need everyone in this room to be part of that network, so that when they come back in the next few months, try and get more of the household tax, or try and close more of the hospitals, or what was in the papers today, they're going to come after the dole again because they're saying people who are working are getting less on the dole. Doesn't mean that they're going to raise people's wages. What they're going to do is cut the dole. So we've got to fight these things, but it means people getting organised, and we can beat them. And we've seen in the referendum campaign here, we beat them here because we were organised.
I just want to say, we can see us all down the back. I know you think you're on the 78 bus right down there. Put your hand up there when you feel free.